Good afternoon, welcome to Real Talk here on SABC3. Yeah, you know, it's tax season again. And if you've ever wondered exactly how tax and tax refunds work, or who you can complain to if you think that you've been treated unfairly, then today's show is just for you. Our first guest today is tax specialist and author Dr Beric Croome. Welcome and thank you for joining us. The doctor doesn't mean you can do open heart surgery like every now and then, right?
It's a doctorate in tax law.
Okay.
And taxpayers' rights.
Okay, so basically then you are the person we want to speak to today. Thank you so much. I think everyone, you know, there's a movie that says there's two certainties in life, death and taxes.
That's great.
so we're not speaking death today, we're speaking the other certainty. Can you please run me through the different kind of tax? Because to me it just feels like you can't buy anything. There can never be a financial exchange without there being a tax, ramification.
And Ali, I think that's correct. When people buy food, for example, or go to a restaurant, they're paying a price, but in that will be an element of value-added tax, for example, which is tax going to government. If they're having a beer or smoking cigarettes, there's a different form of tax in there because government tries to use that to discourage people from actually smoking, particularly because of the health factors. On the drinking side, with alcoholic beverages, it's a good source of revenue for government, and every year the taxes on that is increasing. There then also is income tax, where people are in employment, they will pay tax on what they earn, they will pay tax on interest or other income. So there are a variety of different taxes depending on economic activity, as you say. If you purchase a home, for example, there's also a transfer duty payable, depending on the values. So, as you say, there's a myriad of different taxes depending on the type of transaction concluded.
And value-added tax, that's what we know as VAT.
Correct.
All right. So, is there ever a good tax, one that will come back and work in your favor?
Well, I think that's difficult to answer.
The way you're like, I don't know, sorry.
I mean, one must look at the reason for the taxes, and that is flowing from the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, because government has certain obligations under the Constitution. And the only way it can finance what it has to do is through collecting tax from the people. And it's used as a means also to redistribute amounts from the wealthy to the poor. That's an economic imperative. And that really is a rationale for tax, is to put government in the position to finance the services that it should provide to the citizens of this country.
So is everyone liable to pay tax?
There are different thresholds. Clearly on value-added tax, if you're buying food, there's certain items which you don't pay VAT on, such as vegetables, for example, or what's called zero-rated. So there's no VAT on basic foodstuffs to try and assist the poor. But when you have a meal in a restaurant or go to a movie, there would be VAT paid in the price of the movie ticket. On the income tax side, where someone earns less than 75,000 Rand a year for the current tax year, and it's important to remember the tax year for individuals runs from 1st of March, say 2016, until 20th February 2017.
Okay.
So that's the tax year. Within that year, if a person earns less than 75,000 Rand, there is no tax, because they're below what's referred to as a tax threshold. So those people don't pay income tax. They will pay taxes of other types, particularly VAT in the food that they purchase, where that food is not basic foodstuffs.
So I read somewhere, and it's been spoken about highly, that there's a sugar tax that they're wanting to implement, or they've already implemented it. Would that fall under, the cigarette tax and the alcohol tax?
It's a proposal at this stage. There's still engagement on that. It's aimed at trying to reduce levels of obesity. It's questionable whether that will cause people to change behavior. I don't know that, I'm not a specialist in that area, but that is the intention, that by imposing sugar tax on certain beverages, sugar drinks and things like that, that will become more expensive, trying to discourage people from drinking those beverages, which have an impact on health. Now that would be administered, I think, through probably the Customs and Excise Act, because those sort of taxes are not income taxes on expenditure on a particular category of drink. We also have a plastic bag tax, for example.
Yes.
So when you purchase plastic bags, there's taxes on that trying to discourage pollution. So taxes have different purposes, but it's all going into the pool of funds for government to use to render services to the public.
There's certain instances, and I don't want to call them loopholes because that just sounds like we're trying to be dodgy,
Yes.
but there are certain instances where, like I've seen people, they're like, oh, can I have the slip when we have dinner? Oh, can I have the slip?
Yeah.
Or petrol tax and all of that. Can you kind of walk us through a few ways in which you could, be claiming back from tax so that you can get a payout at the end of it?
Where a person earns a salary in Nelly, that's very difficult. The rules in this country today restrict the deductions a person in employment can claim. So where you're earning a salary, you're entitled to claim, for example, contributions to a pension or retirement fund. Certain medical expenses will qualify for deduction. You may be able to claim certain legal expenses if you have a dispute with your employer. But in previous years, one could claim, say, for example, entertainment, home office expenses, those sort of general deductions for a person earning a salary. That is no longer available. There was too much abuse. And Revenue and Treasury have changed policy that persons earning a salary generally don't have many deductions. Where someone earns a commission, for example, from selling goods or are carrying on a business of their own, they can claim more expenses, but the important thing is that the deductions claimed are proper and there are records kept, and it can be shown that the expenses relate to the production of the income. You can't claim private expenses for tax purposes. That would be a violation of the law. So there has to be a link between the deduction and the income that's generated.
Speaking of, violation of the law,
Yes.
let's say I am defaulting on my taxes. What are the ramifications there in being, untruthful when it comes to your tax returns?
And nearly that's quite a serious offence. It actually can be prosecuted as a criminal offence under the tax laws of South Africa. It can give rise to a criminal record. More importantly are the financial consequences, where someone claims something that they shouldn't or doesn't disclose income that they've earned, that can give rise to penalties. So besides the tax you're required to pay, you can actually pay up to 200% tax.
So they can, that's a fine, obviously.
It's a fine, effectively. So instead of paying 100 Rand tax, you'll actually end up paying 300. Being 100 Rand tax and 200% in the worst case of a fine.
Is that now when they catch you out? What happens if you go and you say, listen guys, I haven't paid taxes in years, I'm sorry, I'm ready to come right, how do I do this?
And Nelly, there is a process, it's called the Voluntary Disclosure Program, where a taxpayer can go forward to Revenue to make a proper disclosure where they've realised they made a mistake or they've omitted something. In those cases, penalties may be reduced to 0 depending on the situation, or in the worst case 5 or 10%. So it's far better if someone has done something wrong, not made a proper disclosure, to go forward before
they catch you out.
audits the taxpayer.
Yeah.
And there's a proper process regulated in law how that should be done.
Alright, so to wrap up, what's the most important thing that the normal man in the street should know about tax?
I think the important thing is to be truthful and honest in submitting their tax returns, and where necessary to seek appropriate advice.
Seek appropriate advice. There are people there who are qualified for this. Thank you so much, Doctor. Stay right where you are. When we come back, we speak to the CEO from the Office of the Tax Ombud, Advocate Hanyane Eric Mkhawane. Don't go anywhere. This is interesting.